Welcome to a special episode of the Healthier Michigan podcast. I'm your host today, Andy Hetzel. I'm Vice President for Corporate Communications at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, and today we are here to talk about something that impacts every one of our members. It's prescription drug costs and what Blue Cross is doing to make healthcare more affordable through our pharmacy innovations. And this episode ties directly into our ongoing commitment to affordability, all the ways we're working to keep coverage and care more affordable for people, for families, for employers all across Michigan. Joining me today is someone who leads this work every day, our Chief Pharmacy Officer, Athir Kaddis. Athir, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy.
Athir, before we get into talking about solutions, which are what our listeners want us to talk about, I want to start with the big picture, though. On our affordability content hub, mibluedaily.com/affordability, we have a dollar bill infographic there that really breaks down prescription drug costs in a simple and powerful way. It shows that in 2024, 21 cents of every premium dollar that Blue Cross collected from our members and customers went toward prescription drugs. Almost a quarter of every dollar that our members pay is going directly to their medications, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan paid almost 15% more for our members' pharmacy claims in 2024 than we did the year before. Those are big numbers. They make a huge part of the healthcare spending dollar. And when you zoom out, it really explains exactly why pharmacy is such a critical area of focus for affordability. Those costs for our members' prescription drugs, they flow downstream into the health insurance premiums that they pay, that their employers pay. And if we are going to keep those premiums affordable, we have to address rising prescription drug prices, and we're doing it in a number of ways that you are leading. So, Athir, it's great to have you with us. Let's start with biosimilars. It's kind of a foreign concept even to me, and I've been around this company for 20 years. It might be because it's about something that's emerging into the pharmacy space that we're trying to wrap our arms around and deal with. So when we talk about a biosimilar strategy and biosimilars, let's start there. What are biosimilars, and what are we doing to promote them to help manage pharmacy costs?
Thank you for the question, Andy, and hopefully my answer will make it easier for you and our listeners to better understand what biosimilars are. Biosimilars, we should think of them as generic drug versions of biologic or specialty drugs. These are high-cost drugs when they're brand name. The biosimilars are generic versions of these drugs.
Okay, when we say a biologic drug, yes, what is that? How is that different from another type of drug that people might be used to?
A biologic drug is a very large molecule that's based on enzymes or proteins that are normally found in the human body.
Okay.
But patients that benefit from receiving these drugs may be deficient or have some sort of dysfunction of this protein or enzyme in the body. Mm-hmm. And these types of drugs replace or help address those deficiencies or dysfunctions.
Okay. All right. So on biosimilars, what are some of the issues that we're facing as an insurance payer as it relates to biosimilars?
Well, biosimilars are equal in safety and efficacy to their brand name counterparts that are available in the market, but they're available at a much lower cost than the brand name versions.
Okay.
So some of the challenges that we face with trying to create more adoption of biosimilars has to do with misperceptions of biosimilars, similar to generic drugs that we saw maybe 20 years ago. When we first started promoting generic drugs, there was a little bit of resistance to it because they were viewed in the past as being less effective compared to the brand name drugs, or not as safe as the brand name drugs.
Right.
We're facing some of that with biosimilars, but I can say the work that we did 20 years ago and continue to do with generic drugs has benefited us in promoting the use of biosimilars. And I can share some of the results that we've had with our biosimilar strategy.
Let's talk about it. What are we saving in terms of cost, and how do those savings for these generic versions of biologics, these biosimilars, how do those savings accrue to help us bend that cost trend?
The big change that happened in the market, Andy, really happened in 2025. And that was our adoption of a biosimilar strategy for two highly utilized expensive drugs. One is called Humira, and that's used for rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune diseases. And the other drug is called Stelara. And you probably have seen commercials for all of these drugs.
I've seen too many commercials for too many drugs.
Exactly.
I'm sure everybody listening out there agrees with that.
Yes. Well, Stelara is used primarily for psoriasis, which is a fairly common condition, also an autoimmune disease. There are now biosimilar alternatives to these two drugs, Humira and Stelara. And these biosimilars are now available at 10% of the cost of the brand name drug. So much lower cost, equal efficacy, equal safety to the brand name counterparts. We have shifted in 2025, 98% of the prescriptions of these brand name drugs to the biosimilar counterparts. That's an $80 million net cost savings for our customers in 2025.
When you say shifted, you're talking about a patient that has, we'll use Humira as an example, has been prescribed Humira for their condition, is now, instead of taking Humira, is taking the biosimilar version of Humira, right? That's what we're talking about?
That's exactly right. And that decision is made by their doctor. So the physician, their doctor that's prescribing the drug, has agreed to convert that patient to the biosimilar from the brand name drug.
Now, Humira that's a drug that's been around for a while, right? How long has Humira been in the market?
It's been around for about 20 years.
So it's a 20-year-old drug, and only now there's a generic version. Why is that happening?
It's happening because there have been delays in bringing biosimilar competitors to the market. Pharmaceutical manufacturers use many different strategies to prevent competition in the market, especially from lower cost drugs. Patent challenges are one of the ways that manufacturers prevent lower cost drugs from coming to the market. They do have patent protection on their brand name drug, so they usually will litigate. They'll go to court against these biosimilar manufacturers to prevent them from bringing biosimilars to the market. There's also new indications that come out, FDA-approved indications for the brand name drug. Once these new FDA-approved indications are given to the brand name drug, it extends the patent protection for the drug. So there's been several of these with the drug Humira, and that has delayed biosimilar competition.
And so it seems like in Humira's case, it's been a 20-year monopoly in the market where they have had no competition for Humira, where it's provided a tremendous clinical benefit to patients, but still no competition. So the price of that drug is really high if we're saving 90% with the biosimilar. Is that right?
The price of Humira is close to $10,000 per month.
Wow.
The brand name.
Okay.
And the biosimilar is about 10% of that cost.
I can feel the savings.
Yes.
I really can. So as we go forward, let me take a step back for a second. So when Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan introduced its biosimilar for Humira, how did we do that? We didn't do that as a company, right? We leveraged somebody else to help purchase those drugs and bring them to our members here in Michigan. Do I have that right?
Yes. So that is correct. And that's unique to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. We are investors in a company called Evio. And Evio was able to negotiate a contract directly with the manufacturer of the biosimilar drug. Okay. So this was a direct purchase arrangement with the biosimilar manufacturer. And what we were able to do is get the price from the manufacturer directly passed through to our customers and our members. So we're able to get a much lower cost on these biosimilars compared to others that are in the market today. And we were able to pass through those costs to our customers and members.
Okay. So we have a negotiating agent called Evio, and Evio achieves a price that passes right through to our members at significant savings.
Yes, and we call that our direct purchasing model.
Okay, great. We're going to shift a little bit and talk about another way that Blue Cross is partnering now to help manage these high price drugs, and that is our partnership with CivicaScript. So CivicaScript is a nonprofit organization in the drug industry. And tell us a little bit more about them and about the nature of the partnership that we have with them and the benefits that we're achieving on behalf of our members and customers through that partnering.
Yes, Civica was started by an organization called Civica RX, who partnered with Blue Cross Blue Shield plans, actually 22 Blue Cross Blue Shield plans across the United States. And we launched CivicaScript in 2020. That's when it started. Civica RX was started by hospitals and health systems about 10 years ago. And their mission, their purpose is to manufacture generic drugs that are in short supply for hospital use in the hospitals. CivicaScript manufactures and distributes low-cost generic drugs on the outpatient side. So these are drugs that are dispensed directly to patients, not for hospital use. These are for patient use and prescribed by their doctors. So CivicaScript is a Blue Cross Blue Shield and Civica RX venture to manufacture and distribute low-cost generic drugs. We are also going to start manufacturing and distributing biosimilar drugs in the future. So that's an expansion of what CivicaScript is focused on.
Very interesting. It sounds like we're doing this work to really further along the growth of generic alternatives, biosimilar alternatives, to bring more competition at lower prices to market. Is that a correct assessment there?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Well, we also, as an insurance plan, have to do things to manage the cost of care. And we do that on behalf of our customers and our members. Our group customers provide health insurance for most of the people in Michigan. And these are employers, large and small, all across Michigan, and they pay the majority of the premium for people who are employed who get their health insurance through work. And so those employers often turn to Blue Cross to help put programs in place that help to manage the overall cost impact to that premium. They do that so obviously they can continue to provide affordable health insurance coverage, because if an employer can't do that, then their employees don't have that benefit. And so they have an interest in doing that. So one of the programs in the pharmacy space that we've long had as part of that practice of responsible cost management is called step therapy. It's probably something that has touched a lot of the listeners to this program right now. Can you explain what step therapy is and why it's important to helping manage the overall cost of care that accrues into the health insurance cost?
Yes, step therapy is a program that promotes the use of low-cost generic drugs or low-cost brand name drugs prior to the use of a more expensive therapy within the same category of drug. These are programs that really are focused on driving the lowest net cost on therapies, and they really have an impact. So a patient is required in a step therapy program to try the generic drug or low-cost brand name drug, and if they can't tolerate that drug, or we say they fail that drug, their condition worsens or doesn't respond to that drug, then and only then can they move to the more expensive therapy.
Okay. And we do this in partnership with prescribing physicians.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So all the prescribing physicians that work with us are very familiar with step therapy programs and can explain them to their patients?
They are very familiar, yes. We are not the only insurer that has step therapy programs. In fact, every insurer in the United States uses these programs.
It sounds like a little bit of common sense to me, right? So your physician, you have a condition, your physician is helping you manage that condition. There are a couple different drugs that are appropriate for that condition, and he or she wants you to try the lowest cost drug before you step up to the higher cost drug. Is that a way to describe step therapy?
That is a way to describe it. And the challenge becomes that, a patient may see a brand name drug advertised on TV, or they may hear about some amazing outcome with a brand name drug from a friend or family member, and there's a desire to try that brand name drug for their condition. And then they find out that there's some steps you have to take before you can have access to that brand name drug, and that's step therapy. And it's use of equally safe and effective generic drugs or other low-cost brand name drugs before using that high-cost brand name drug that's targeted in a step therapy program.
Okay. Great information. So we've talked about biosimilars and bringing competition to market faster at lower cost. We've talked about partnering through CivicaScript and Evio Pharmacy Solutions on, working with other organizations that can help us accomplish that. And we've talked about a program called Step Therapy to really help, the physician and the member, the patient, get the appropriate drug at the appropriate time to help manage not only the clinical effectiveness of the drug, but cost. What are some of the other programs, the other things that Blue Cross is doing every day that your team is fully engaged on?
Other programs that we have are really focused on helping or incentivizing members to use lower cost therapies. And that, in turn, is a win-win for everyone. The member, the patient, can get a lower cost drug. They pay less out of pocket. Their employer also pays less. And Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan can keep premiums in check when this works appropriately. Yeah. So programs that we have available today that help reduce the cost of drugs and also reduce out-of-pocket costs for our members include the Price Edge program. So think of GoodRx, which is a coupon-type program where you can print off a coupon from the internet and take it to a pharmacy and get a lower cost on a drug. We have a more automated version of the GoodRx program it goes beyond GoodRx. Okay. It also searches other coupon programs that are available in the market, and it offers a lower cost on generic drugs at the point of sale. When a patient goes to a pharmacy to get their medication, behind the scenes, the system is searching for a lower cost generic drug, and that reduces the out-of-pocket costs and the overall costs for our members on generic drugs, and that's called our Price Edge program.
That's cool. That's like if I wanted to get a shirt and I went to my favorite store to buy it, and instead of the price that the store had on the tag, it would be the lowest possible price that I could pay anywhere for that same shirt.
That's exactly right. When you're in front of the cash register.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is great. So you don't have to print off a coupon or anything like that. We also have what's called a Sempra Health program, and that's a program that's focused on 13 drugs today, where it reduces the patient's out-of-pocket costs on brand name drugs that are in that program. So these are drugs that are used to treat chronic conditions like diabetes or asthma, and it reduces the cost on these brand name drugs used for these chronic conditions. Similar to the Price Edge program, but focused on brand name drugs instead of generic drugs.
Athir, tell us a little bit more about how the pharmacy innovations we just talked about, CivicaScript, the biosimilar strategy, and others, how do they impact our overall work on affordability for health insurance, and how do they connect into our value-based care initiatives here at Blue Cross?
Well, Andy, pharmacy affordability is key to our overall affordability strategy. What we're doing in pharmacy in regards to innovation is helping to reduce waste. We're ensuring appropriate prescribing, and we're also promoting interventions that promote the long-term outcomes for our members. By doing that, we're lowering or keeping in check the overall pharmacy premiums that are charged to our customers.
And the connection into the value-based care work. So at Blue Cross, we've been pursuing a different way to pay for health care. In short, we want to pay for good positive outcomes for those patients. Instead of paying for more volume of services, we want the focus of payment to be on outcomes, which is frankly what our members want. When they go into a health system, they want to get better. And so how does pharmacy work into that?
By promoting lower cost generic drugs and promoting lower cost brand name drugs that are equal in safety and efficacy to higher cost brand name drugs, we're able to reduce overall costs for our what our physicians are prescribing and for our customers. And that in turn will reduce the costs for these programs and return some of that savings to our physician partners, in this case, value-based care.
Really great. Athir, I think we're almost at time with our listeners today. If you're still with us right now, I'm sure that you've learned something. I know that I have about the work that Blue Cross is doing to help manage drug costs and keep affordable drugs available to you, our members out there. We appreciate, Athir, your time to sit with us this morning and talk through some of these issues. It's clear, that the work that your team is doing, if it's, through biosimilars or partnerships like Civica RX or Civica Script and programs like Step Therapy, it's really making a difference in how we can successfully manage that 21 cents of every health insurance premium dollar. Bend that cost trend, keep that escalating cost of drugs from flowing downstream and pressuring the health insurance premium while maintaining access to these therapies, which we all agree that our members need and deserve. And so very important work from our pharmacy team. It's just really one important piece of a broader affordability effort here at Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan, but certainly critical to our success. So thank you very much for joining us. And you out there, if you want to go and find out more information, we've got great resources online. mibluedaily.com/affordability. You will see so much information out there. Your head will spin, but hopefully you'll know a little bit more about some of the challenges that we are facing, that you are feeling, and what we at Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan are doing about it. We take our responsibility to help our members very seriously, and finding innovative approaches and partnering across the healthcare system to help manage cost is certainly one of the things that we're committed to doing. So thank you for spending some time with us today on the Healthier Michigan podcast. I'm your substitute host this week, Andy Hetzel. I appreciate your time and the time of our guest. Thank you very much for joining us.